Okay, by consensus, we're at chapter 23.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue into the restructuring of all the laws that were given in the covenant. So, Barbara?
Go for it? Okay.
No one who has been emasculated by crushing or cutting may enter the assembly of the Lord. No one born of a forbidden marriage, nor any of his descendants, may enter the assembly of the Lord, even down to the 10th generation. No Ammonite or Moabite or any of his descendants may enter the assembly of the Lord, even down to the 10th generation. For they did not come to meet you with bread and water on your way when you came out of Egypt, and they hired Balaam, son of Beor, from Pethor in Aram Naharaim, to pronounce a curse on you. However, the Lord your God would not listen to Balaam, but turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loves you. Do not seek a treaty of friendship with them as long as you live. Do not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother. Do not abhor an Egyptian, because you lived as an alien in his country.
Okay, let's pause there. The message just puts it right out there. You said no one who has been emasculated or crushed by cutting or crushing should enter the assembly. The message just simply says no eunuch is to enter the congregation of God.
Oh, eunuch. Now that really makes sense.
And when it talks about no one born of a foreign marriage, the message just simply says no bastard is to enter the congregation of God. Yep, let's drop all the churchy language and let's just tell you who it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole lot easier. And it goes under the 10th generation. That's a long time.
Yes, it is.
I don't know who keeps track of that.
The Levites.
Yeah. Good one, Charles. Yeah,
Does that mean after the 10th, then it was okay?
I guess. By that time, they don't want to be part of the congregation.
Yeah, no kidding.
I've heard two definitions for the word bastard. I'm curious what you've learned.
Well, bastard is somebody born from parents who are not married.
Yeah, that's one, yeah. And the other definition I heard is somebody that hasn't studied the Bible or been churched.
Really? Never heard that. That's
Interesting.
We call them Presbyterians.
He was struggling for the denomination.
Yeah, I want to make sure not to include any of our denominations.
That's where I was baptized, though, with the Presbyterians.
Well,
You're being rude to me again.
I spent 10 years working with them. Anyway, the message is straightforward, and Charles is going to be right. It's the Levites who have to keep track of that.
Yeah.
But have you ever heard Groucho Marx?
Yeah.
Groucho Marx said at one time, I would not want to be a member of any group that would have me as a member. So, until that 10th generation, a lot of those people probably said, I don't want to be a member of that group. So,
You mentioned the eunuch. Didn't they do a lot of good? Like they were real spiritual people, the eunuchs.
eunuchs.
Uh-huh. But what you said made it sound like they were holy people.
Well, a eunuch
Uh-huh.
can't have children.
Right.
And for the Jews, that would be a problem.
And that's where.
And eunuchs were primarily used as servants of the king's wives. And they used eunuchs because the king didn't have to worry about will one of them try to accost his wife.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Because it talks in the Bible about the eunuch who wanted to know what he was reading.
Yes.
Yeah, in the New Testament.
Yeah. And then he said to, was it Peter, can I get baptized? And they just
Yeah.
took him down to the river and
Yeah,
baptized him. So, Barbara, let's go on with this chapter. Verse 9, I think.
The third generation of children born to them may enter the assembly of the Lord. When you are encamped against your enemies, keep away from everything impure. If one of your men is unclean because of a nocturnal emission, he is to go outside the camp and stay there. But as evening approaches, he is to wash himself, and at sunset he may return to the camp. Designate a place outside the camp where you can go to relieve yourself. As part of your equipment, have something to dig with, and when you relieve yourself, dig a hole and cover up your excrement. For the Lord your God moves about in your camp to protect you and to deliver your enemies to you. Your camp must be holy, so that he will not see among you anything indecent and turn away from you.
Okay, this is another reason why you need to flush.
Is this in the lectionary for this coming week reading?
They don't get much Deuteronomy. But you can see, keep this place holy. I learned that in Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go on, let's find out what we can't do next.
If a slave has taken refuge with you, do not hand him over to his master. Let him live among you wherever he likes and in whatever town he chooses. Do not oppress him. No Israelite man or woman is to become a shrine prostitute. You must not bring the earnings of a female prostitute or of a male prostitute into the house of the Lord your God to pay any vow, because the Lord your God detests them both. Do not charge your brother interest, whether on money or food or anything else that may earn interest. You may charge a foreigner interest, but not a brother Israelite, so that the Lord your God may bless you in everything you put your hand to in the land you are entering to possess. If you make a vow to the Lord your God, do not be slow to pay it, for the Lord your God will certainly demand it of you, and you will be guilty of sin. But if you refrain from making a vow, you will not be guilty. Whatever your lips utter, you must be sure to do, because you made your vow freely to the Lord your God with your own mouth.
Okay, let's pause there for just a minute, because, Bob, this is one passage of Deuteronomy that may be used on a Sunday morning. If you make a pledge, pay it. That would come up usually.
I think we're getting close to our drive here.
Yeah. So, this book covers everything. Let's finish up this chapter.
24.
Yeah, verse 24.
Excuse me.
If you enter your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat all the grapes you want, but do not put any in your basket. If you enter your neighbor's grain field, you may pick kernels with your hands, but you must not put a sickle to his standing grain.
Okay. This passage was put in there for those all-you-can-eat restaurants. You can eat all you want, but don't put in that.
The take-home box.
Don't put them. Don't line your purses with tinfoil so you can take a little bit home.
I have a friend who takes baggies everywhere. Like if it's once there was a chocolate fest at Holy Cross, I think, and we went to it. She had baggies and she just kept putting stuff in baggies to take home.
Oh my Lord.
I thought it was a good idea,
I'm
but
gonna say my kind of person.
Yeah, if you're bringing chocolate home, load up. So, but these last couple things really have just been practical things.
yeah.
This is another way of saying don't be greedy. When you come to a church potluck and they got chocolate chip cookies, don't be like
Don't bring the baggie.
don't be like the pastor and eat 3 or 4 of them before you go through the line.
That's just quality control sampling, make sure that
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
not putting out inferior product.
That's right. Okay, my gracious, we finished one chapter already. Let's move on to the next one.
If a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him because he finds something indecent about her, he writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house. And if after she leaves his house she becomes the wife of another man, and her second husband dislikes her and writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her, and sends her from his house, or if he dies, then her first husband who divorced her is not allowed to marry her again after she has been defiled. That would be detestable in the eyes of the Lord. Do not bring sin upon the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. If a man has recently married, he must not be sent to war or have any other duty laid on him. For 1 year he is to be free to stay at home and bring happiness to the wife he has married. Do not take a pair of millstones, not even the upper one, as security for a debt, because that would be taking a man's livelihood as security. If a man is caught kidnapping one of his brother Israelites and treats him as a slave or sells him, the kidnapper must die. You must purge the evil from among you. In cases of leprous diseases, be very careful to do exactly as the priests, who are Levites, instruct you. You must follow carefully what I have commanded them. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam along the way after you came out of Egypt. When you make a loan of any kind to your neighbor, do not go into his house to get what he is offering as a pledge. Stay outside, and let the man to whom you are making the loan bring the pledge out to you. If the man is poor, do not go to sleep with his pledge in your possession. Return his cloak to him by sunset, so that he may sleep in it. Then he will thank you, and it will be regarded as a righteous act in the sight of the Lord your God. Do not take advantage of a hired man who is poor and needy, whether he is a brother Israelite or an alien living in one of your towns. Pay him his wages each day before sunset, because he is poor and is counting on it. Otherwise he may cry to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. Fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor children put to death for their fathers. Each is to die for his own sin. Do not deprive the alien or the fatherless of justice, or take the cloak of the widow as a pledge. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. That is why I command you to do this. When you are harvesting...
Let's pause there for a minute. We've had a lot of rules clarified. When it talks about leprosy, the message, the first word in that verse is warning. You know, this is important stuff. You see, when you look at all of these rules, especially, you know, if you borrow, if you make a loan of some kind to your neighbor and they make a pledge, let them bring the pledge out to you. And if you take his cloak, give it back to him by darkfall so he could sleep comfortably. Don't abuse laborers who is destitute. You know, pay him.
Why were you not supposed to go into their house?
Well, because then you could be picking other stuff.
Oh,
You know, find out, you know, what else they have
okay,
that you can take.
okay.
This is kind of like that don't covenant. Part of the 10, you know, what we have here is an expansion of the 10 Commandments. This is just the beginning. Because as Judaism historically has evolved, especially, you know, during this time, which is well prior to the time of Christ. At the time of Christ, there were a lot of rules. And even today, that you go to the Judaic court, but it's if you go to the Jewish court, if you're trying to resolve a dispute, they got all kinds of rules. I mean, the Torah, the Ten Commandments, if you single space them, would not take more than an inch and a half. But now, the rules that they have would fill 3 or 4 books this size, because they just keep adding to them. And the Pharisees were the lay lawyers. They were the ones that knew the law. You notice every time Jesus is confronted, he's confronted by a Pharisee who's trying to point out that he's breaking the law. If to divorce someone, you just give the person, the woman, the man gives to the woman, husband to the wife, a bill of divorce that just says, we're divorced. See ya. And if that woman then goes on and she marries someone else, and he either dies or divorces her, she can't go back to the first husband and marry the first husband. Which is kind of interesting, because I have several people that I know who have divorced and remarried their ex. That's not an uncommon thing. I have an aunt and uncle who did that. They didn't marry someone else in between, but they realized after they got a divorce that they were actually spending more time together and enjoying each other's company. So they remarried. But this trying to find a way to make order in society. Parents should not be put to death for their children, or children for their parents. And you said father. But the message says parents. We're going to include mommy in this too. Each person shall be put to death for their own sin.
I don't see any mention of Pharisees in my reading here, but Levites, did they go to medical school? If they're
No.
giving medical advice.
Well, they're following the law. They're doing, God has told them what to do. And so, that's kind of an iffy thing. But the Pharisees were the ones that really thought they had the leg up on making the law.
Was there a University of Pharisees somewhere, or were they self-proclaimed Pharisees?
Yeah, remember when we read Acts, Paul went off and was trained. Paul is a Pharisee. He was trained at that Pharisaical school in Arabia. I forgot the name of his teacher, but
Was that Gamaliel?
Hmm?
Gamaliel?
something like that. And he was the best. So Paul went to the best place. And it's amazing. In our church, in the Episcopal Church, we have canon laws that have restrictions, and mostly it's administrative. But the canons do get changed occasionally, and we have people who are canon lawyers. I mean, if some charge is brought against you, the canon lawyer usually helps interpret the canon. It's nothing like what we're talking about with the Pharisees and knowing the law, but you can see, you might say, this is kind of picayune. And it is, but it gets even pickier as time goes on. Make sure foreigners and orphans get their just rights. Don't take a cloak from a widow as security for a loan. Don't ever forget that you were once slaves in Egypt, and God, your God, got you out of there. I command you, do what I'm telling you. So here we're saying, where we've kind of badmouthed foreigners previously, the law is saying, don't pick on them. They have their own thing, and they worship their own silly gods. But that doesn't give you the right to beat them to death unless they break a rule. I posted in this little site. Y'all heard of Monty Python?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I posted a thing on Facebook. It showed there was a guy and kind of the head is saying, we're going to stone him because he said the name Jehovah. And you are not to say the name of the Lord. So they're all set to stone him. And the guy says, you're going to stone me because I said Jehovah? Heck, he did it again. And then the guy who's kind of leading the thing says, you hear him? He said Jehovah. And all of a sudden somebody throws a rock at him. And the guy they're going to stone is going, Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah. But it kind of points out the absurdity, because one of the guys throwing a stone said, I don't know, Lord, why we ought to be stoning him just because he said Jehovah. All of a sudden, bonk. Monty Python just takes these things to the absurd. And, this is the same kind of thing. Some of these rules, you just got to question, who's going to, if a young Jewish boy falls in love with somebody from one of these other communities that you shouldn't have contact with, and they fall in love, how's the family deal with that? Probably like the Amish. They throw the boy out of the house. So there are laws and there are people's emotions. And, you love who you love. So, anyway, Barbara, let's continue on.
19?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you are harvesting in your field and you overlook a sheaf, do not go back to get it. Leave it for the alien, the fatherless, and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat the olives from your trees, do not go over the branches a second time. Leave what remains for the alien, the fatherless, and the widow. When you harvest the grapes in your vineyard, do not go over the vines again. Leave what remains for the alien, the fatherless, and the widow. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt. That is why I command you to do this.
Okay. Now, again, who are you leaving the sheaves, the olives, and the grapes?
The orphans, the widows,
And the foreigners. So, even though you're not supposed to associate with some of these foreigners, the rules are they got to live too. They don't go through the vineyard first, but they're able to go through and harvest some of the stuff. Olives, now when they harvest, they've got a truck that the farmers who are growing olives and almonds, that there's a clamp off the front of the tractor that comes around and grabs the tree about 4 feet up. And a net then goes around the tree. And once everything's in set, hit a button and this tractor shakes the tree and the olives fall down. And then when that net folds up, it kind of keeps everything together and feeds it into, like a combine, feeds the grape, goes into a hopper and it gets loaded into another truck. And then they just go to the next tree. And so they're not out picking them now. So you get a lot more probably. And the ones that aren't ripe and not ready to be picked don't fall off the tree. They can't do that with grapes. You actually have to go out and pick grapes. But, the rule is saying, be fair, widows, orphans, and the foreigners. I think that's a pretty good deal. They're not beating up on foreigners all the time. Now, we may run across some laws that change that.
Yeah.
But let's see, man, we get in chapter 25. Oh, boy.
There's pecan groves down in southeast Kansas, and we got to see, it's kind of like that. I forgot the details, but it went all around the tree, and the
Yeah.
machine shook the tree.
Yeah, it's a fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, because you imagine going out and picking those things.
Yeah. When I
Man.
was a kid, we just picked them up off the ground.
Yeah. Well, that's,
Tiny.
that
They
means,
just shake a branch or something, whatever fell.
yeah. I mean, it's like people who pick apples and oranges. I mean, they still pick those by hand. But it's amazing to see one of these things work. You know, it just shakes the tree and here they all come. I just can't imagine going out and
Hand
picking,
picking.
yeah, picking olives. I mean, I love olive oil, but you know, I don't like olives. I like their oil. So, okay, Barbara, we're getting chapter 25. We may even get through 26.
When men have a dispute, they are to take it to court, and the judges will decide the case, acquitting the innocent and condemning the guilty. If the guilty man deserves to be beaten, the judge shall make him lie down and have him flogged in his presence, with the number of lashes his crime deserves. But he must not give him more than 40 lashes. If he is flogged more than that, your brother will be degraded in your eyes. Do not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain. If brothers are living together and one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her. The first son she bears shall carry on the name of the dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. However, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, she shall go to the elders at the town gate and say, "My husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to me." Then the elders of his town shall summon him and talk to him. If he persists in saying, "I do not want to marry her," his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, take off one of his sandals, spit in his face, and say, "This is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line." That man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled.
Oh, dear.
That's one way to do it.
If two men are fighting and the wife of one of them comes to rescue her husband from his assailant, and she reaches out and seizes him by his private parts, you shall cut off her hand. Show her no pity.
Okay, now the message really is a little bit more obvious. When two men are in a fight and the wife of one man trying to rescue her husband grabs the genitals of the man, hitting him, and you are to cut off her hand, show no pity. So, you know, if you go up there and you grab them,
This goes back to Bush Jr. You remember him where he hit, somebody pulled off their sandal and hit him in the face with it?
yeah. In some well, it didn't hit him, he ducked. But in an Arabic country, throwing your sandal at somebody shows you have disdain for them. And, but you know, this, I do like that. Your name in Israel will be family no sandal. Now, you know, we could get around pretty much here in Hutchinson without sandals. But we've got to remember, we're not talking about paved highways
Yeah.
and sidewalks. We're talking about dirt.
But we have sandburrs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, that would be painful to go around without sandals on. But boy, the sister-in-law is to pull a sandal off his foot, spit in his face. Wow.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Verse 4, just kind of there all by itself, about muzzling the ox. Not muzzling the ox.
Well,
I mean,
thrashing.
that's between some other stuff that totally unrelated. Has the ox got to eat too? Is that what the?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're muzzling an ox, when you're doing threshing, makes it harder for the ox to breathe. You know, you got to clamp down on their face. But Bob, you're right, because some of these we know were later ads, and that had to be a later ad.
It just stuck in the middle of
Yeah,
other
it's just
stuff that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Plucked in there. Well, it's kind of like you're talking about the brother-in-law not wanting to continue his brother's name, and then all of a sudden now two men are in a fight, and the wives of one of them reach out and grabs his privates. And then,
Then she gets her hand cut off.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then we start talking about weights and measures. So it's almost free-range thinking. Just throw something out there. Let's finish up chapter 25.
Do not have two differing weights in your bag, one heavy, one light. Do not have two differing measures in your house, one large, one small. You must have accurate and honest weights and measures, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. For the Lord your God detests anyone who does these things, anyone who deals dishonestly. Remember what the Amalekites did to you along the way when you came out of Egypt. When you were weary and worn out, they met you on your journey and cut off all who were lagging behind. They had no fear of God. When the Lord your God gives you rest from all the enemies around you in the land he is giving you to possess as an inheritance, you shall blot out the memory of the Amalek. You shall blot out the memory of the Amalek from under heaven. Do not forget.
Okay. So the rules continue on, and we're going to go down here, and we're going to get to their creed. So, Barbara, let's continue on in 26 and
Okay.
stop at about verse 10.
Okay. When you have entered the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, and have taken possession of it and settled in it, take some of the first fruits of all that you produce from the soil of the land the Lord your God is giving you, and put them in a basket. Then go to the place the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name, and say to the priest in office at the time, I declare today to the Lord your God that I have come to the land the Lord swore to our forefathers to give us. The priest shall take the basket from your hands and set it down in front of the altar of the Lord your God. Then you shall declare before the Lord your God, my father was a wandering Aramean, and he went down into Egypt with a few people and lived there and became a great nation, powerful and numerous. But the Egyptians mistreated us and made us suffer, putting us to hard labor. Then we cried out to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our misery, toil, and oppression. So the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with great terror and with miraculous signs and wonders. He brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now I bring the first fruits of the soil that you, O Lord, have given me. Place. Okay.
There's another half of the verse.
Okay, go ahead and finish that.
Place the basket before the Lord your God and bow down before him.
Okay. This, when you talk about something being out of place,
Yeah.
this is referencing when they arrived in the promised land. When you enter the land that God has given you for your inheritance, take it over and take all the first fruits of what was grown in the land. You can't do that on the 10th year you're there. I mean, unless you find some way of turning this into a ritual. Because you take the first fruits and you go. But then we get to the Jewish creed. You know, in our traditions, we have either the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed. And for Lutherans who love to abuse their congregation, you have the Erythemus
Oh, yeah.
Creed, which is about 15 pages long. And it's really only to be done once a year, and that's during the Reformation Sunday. But thank God we don't do it here at Manning. But a wandering Aramean was my father. He went down to Egypt and sojourned there. He and just a handful of his brothers at first, but soon they became a great nation, mighty and many. The Egyptians abused and battered us in a cruel and savage slavery. We cried out to God, the God of our fathers. He listened to our voice. He saw our destitution, our trouble, and our cruel plight. And God took us out of Egypt with his strong hand and long arm, terrible and great, and with signs and miracle wonders, he brought us to this place, giving us this land flowing with milk and honey. So here I am. I brought the first fruits of what I have grown on this ground. You gave to me, O God. You see how that's like a creed? You know, our creed starts off, I believe in God, and I believe in Jesus Christ, God's only Son, persecuted, or born of the Virgin Mary. And then I believe in the Holy Spirit. This is the same kind of thing. It's not triune, but it's saying, my ancestors were wandering Arameans. And they went to Egypt. And at first it was good, and then they started getting abused and treated poorly by the Egyptians. So we cried out to God, and God listened to our voice, and he took us out of Egypt. And with signs and miracles and wonders, he brought us to this place, gave us this land flowing with milk and honey. So now I'm bringing the first fruits. I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that wandering Aramean was my father is a very important part of the Jewish tradition. I mean, if you have a Jewish friend and you would say to them, a wandering Aramean was my father, he would probably be able to say the rest of it. Just like, you know, if somebody came up to us and said, I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, we would probably be able to stumble along with the next few verses. But it's out of place in this narrative because it's talking about the first thing they do. And, you know, God had promised to take them to this land. Charles.
Is this kind of like the Elohist in the priestly writings? It's okay, somebody's got this information they're trying to create to bring it together.
Well, it's the Deuteronomist that's taking these different writings, but we don't know for sure who that came from, Elohist or Yahwist, because it's dealing with the history.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's a reflection back on that. And, well, Barbara, read on. Let's see.
Okay.
Verse 11. And you and the Levites and the aliens among you shall rejoice in all the good things the Lord your God has given you and your household. When you have finished setting aside 1/10 of all your produce in the third year, the year of the tithe, you shall give it to the Levite, the alien, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat in your towns and be satisfied. Then say to the Lord your God, I have removed from my house the sacred portion, and have given it to the Levite, the alien, the fatherless, and the widow, according to all you have commanded. I have not turned aside from your commands, nor have I forgotten any of them. I have not eaten any of the sacred portion while I was in mourning, nor have I removed any of it while I was unclean, nor have I offered any of it to the dead. I have obeyed the Lord my God. I have done everything you have commanded me. Look down from heaven, your holy dwelling place, and bless your people Israel, and the land you have given us as you promised on oath to our forefathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. The Lord your God commands you this day to follow these decrees and laws, carefully observing them with all your heart and with all your soul. You have declared this day that the Lord your God and that the Lord is your God, and that you will walk in his ways, that you will keep his decrees, commands, and laws, and that you will obey him. And the Lord has declared this day that you are his people, his treasured possession as he promised, and that you are to keep all his commands. He has declared that he will set you in praise, fame, and honor high above all the nations he has made, and that you will be a people holy to the Lord your God, as he promised.
Okay. So you see,
Am I the only person that has an image of milk and honey being a sticky, smelling mess? They keep talking about flowing with milk and honey, and I'm just kind of envisioning this.
was your family involved in the dairy industry? You know, here we're talking about tithing in the third year. But that changes till you get to the seventh year.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the year, every third year, the year of the tithe, give 1/10 of your produce to the Levite, the foreigner, the orphan, and the widow, so they may eat. See, the Levite never was given property. So, you know, they were the clergy. So,
Gotta give the clergy theirs, right?
yeah, you got to give the clergy 10%. And I can give you my checking account, the transfer code or whatever you need so that you can do that. But again, this does not seem like something at this point of all the law where we're, you know, dealing with laws saying, you know, if two men are fighting and one of their wives comes out and grabs the genitals of the guy he's fighting against, you got to cut off her hand. No, this is beginning stuff. As we find out, we get to 27, it starts off right away. Moses commanded the leaders of Israel and charged the people, keep every commandment that I have command you today. So now all of a sudden, we're back dealing with Moses.
So when did tithing become yearly? Because don't a bunch of churches, they have you do the card, you know, how much you're going to tithe, and it's on a yearly basis. So does that come along, or is somebody just greedy?
It's a combination. You know, historically, the tithe was not something you put in the plate on Sunday. The tithe you took to the church during the week.
Oh.
The offering on Sunday was different, but we've changed that. We've kind of evolved, and we say now the tithe is what you put in the plate on Sunday. That's why I like that churches, both Emmanuel and Grace Church, you can make your offering to the church electronically.
Yeah.
So, you know, we don't put anything in the plate. We make a contribution to Grace Church, and we make one to Emmanuel. And it comes out of our checking account. It's like magic.
Like magic.
So, you know, that really is what a tithe is. Now, on Sunday, if there's a special offering, then you put something in the plate on Sunday. But this has all become confusing.
Yeah.
And I think the church, frankly, well, we went from tithe. When I was young, tithe meant you gave 10%.
Yeah.
Well, then it was hard to convince people to do that. So the church said, how about a modern tithe? A modern tithe says you give 5% to the church and 5% to other organizations you support. And, you know, that's worked. I mean, that's kind of what we do now.
Or you get 30% of the government to do what they want to do.
Yeah. I mean, you know, now we're able to, we make contributions to those, to two churches, but we also contribute to
Other charities that you have.
other charities, yeah. And, you know, that's just, we don't worry about what's a modern tithe, or if we started, we'd have more money in the bank. So, anyway, we will pick up with chapter 27 And boy, I'll tell you,
Moving right along.
yeah,
Well, they're short chapters.
yeah.
It's not that we're less verbose.